What do you know about these houses? Is this where your husband lived?
The centre one, Lord Lee's property. It's the one with the gable. It's very pretty to look at.
Right.
The garden was always well tended.
And so, where did you live at that time? You lived in.
Oh, I was living in Warwick.
And how did you get here? How did you get from Warwick to here then?
Well, I biked.
On a bicycle?
Yes. I used to bring a bunch of flowers. My sister lived in Warwick. I came from Warwick, and my sister lived in Bridgend, and she grew flowers because the family grew all flowers, and you did in those days.
And so this used to be Seaton's, was it, next door, which is
Yes.
now being knocked down into these...
Oh, Mr.
nice.
Seaton used to have pigs, and they just roamed around, and sometimes they'd wander right down what became Cromwell Lane and eat in the acorns from the oak trees.
Do you remember?
And the police used to round them up and bring them back. Originally, the family bought 3 plots of land from Lord Lee's agent, and I'm just approaching what originally was my home.
Which one is it? This one? Is it this one?
And
That's pretty much the house is pretty much the same as when you had it,
yes,
is it?
yes. The windows have been changed, and a garage has been built in the garden. And we were going to do the same with changing the garage into a dining room.
Right.
But we bought the dining room suite before we had it done, and then my husband died. You see, so I could never go ahead with it.
A lot of houses along here were sold for about. Did you actually just buy the plot of land and have it built?
Yeah.
Did he build the land?
Yes, it was the money the government gave me because my husband was in the army, and I saved it, and it was about £120.
Right, and you bought the plot of land for that, and had it built it yourself?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now,
Mr. Perkins of Kenilworth built it. He was an individual
would you like to
builder.
have a look at? I've got some photographs here. Did you know Mrs. Barrett? She lived over the road.
Oh yes, Margaret Barrett.
Yeah, she lives just down there, doesn't she?
Yes, she was a
Do you
good
still
friend.
know? Yes, I know.
Yes.
You knew her well.
Yes.
Right. Well, I've got to if I have a look at this. Whoops. God Almighty. Mrs. Stuart Barrett gave me that. That's a photograph of Cromwell Lane in 1947.
Oh yes, I recognise the gates. The gates are somewhere.
They're just over there. they're just down there.
On that side of the road.
That's right.
Very well.
So we're standing in Mrs. Barrett's garden.
Oh really?
Looking over here, and these are all the sheds. The sheds which were along here.
People lived in.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And that's what you lived in, did you?
No.
Oh,
We wouldn't live in
a shed.
No. And you see, my sister-in-law, she had planning permission because she was living in a caravan and had a baby.
Oh right,
and
so
that
had a
gave
sort
her
of priority on the planning
to get a
permission.
licence to build.
Right.
After all, you have to have a licence to build.
Right.
And that was a priority, you see. And so that's how people did actually build along here.
Do you remember the co-op van that used to come along with the shopping?
Yes, oh yes. Oh, he was ever such a grumpy man. Oh dearie me.
Because all of the women, it used to be a little get-together, didn't it, on a Tuesday morning? All the women used to get together on this van and have a gossip. I thought that was the idea.
He used to come in the afternoon with the bread and some cake.
Oh, is that a different one? Because I remember a bus...
3 times a week.
A big bus used to come along once a week on a Tuesday, a big red bus.
Oh yes.
And with all the groceries on.
Yes. That didn't. I don't think that lasted too long. Actually, it was one of those things that happened. But with all the years I was there, it wasn't a regular service. But the co-op baker, yes, he came for years and years. Just like Harry Chick.
I'm Harry Chick.
Everyone would know Harry Chick. Fantastic person.
He used to come around on Saturdays to collect the paper money, didn't he? The money for the papers.
Yeah. Oh, and he sold everything from his little van, all sweeties. Yeah, fantastic character he was. And it took him all day to come along Cromwell Lane because he had a chat to people. Fantastic. Bless him. Can I show you where Canley car delivery used to go by the school?
Let's go along there now.
Yeah.
Let's go along there. Let's go. What was that all about?
My son, when he was 5, came to the school, and then suddenly there was this procession of cars, and the Standard Motor Company had made a new shop, and for their new model car, can't think of it at the moment, and the Herald car, and so they needed more storage area, and somehow or other the delivery people had acquired land, they acquired the land and was parking the cars in the wood, and so as they came off the production line they followed one another along the road, a trail of them into the wood here.
I can remember this entrance now. There was a big wide entrance here with big boards up either side.
Yeah. And
because I used to come along here on my little bike to school.
And the point is that at the public inquiry that took place...
What was it? When there was a public inquiry, there were sort of objections from the villagers here to the sap.
Yes, well, of course the council too objected, and so there was a public inquiry, and that's when I stood up in the room and said my piece. And I'd taken a note of how many cars passed me from my house to here, and I'd stepped it out and measured it, and of course the council won the case.
And that led to, what was the outcome of that? That led to being... you became
they obviously realised I'd got some potential in speaking up, and when Lord Lee's agent retired, which was this area where I lived, they asked me to take on his seat, and that was Stoneleigh Parish. So I had the parish council seat and the rural seat, which I kept for 9 years, and I retired because of my husband's ill health.
I've got a photo here of Burton Green School, in all the children in 1949. What did you know about Miss Gibbs? Do you have memories of her?
A very kind lady. I think she was ideal for children just starting school.
Yeah.
But as for pushing them into learning, she had a very casual sort of style, an old-fashioned style, and of course it was going out of date because teaching and learning was the important factor in life. And
it was a very relaxed atmosphere at the school, as opposed to Westwood, which was more sort of disciplinary, wasn't it?
Very much. This is the point. Children love coming to school, you see.
Because down at Westwood there was a slightly different sort of ethos, wasn't there? It was more discipline and more study, and you had to work hard.
That's right.
You had to do homework. You didn't have any homework. You came here.
Yeah. Well, of course, the school changed after Miss Gibbs left, you see. It was education, you see. That was the attitude, was education. And the gentleman who came here, Mr. Bentley.
Yeah. This is Cromwell Cottage, then, isn't it?
Oh yes, it's been beautifully restored. It became very derelict. I named it the road after this.
How did that all come about then? Do you know anything about the connection between this place and Cromwell, or is it just? Do you know anything about why this is called Cromwell Cottage?
Well, I understand that Oliver Cromwell and his troops used our little lane, which was a little narrow little country lane, before attacking Kenilworth Castle.
That's the story.
Yeah.
And so what's that? How did Cromwell Lane come to have its name? Tell me about that.
Well, I was a councillor, and I was on the Post Office Advisory Committee, and they contacted me about the lane because there was no real postal address. We only just had house names,
What's the Postal Advisory Committee? What's that about?
Well, I never got called to a meeting, so I really don't know what that was all about. But on my yearbook, I'm down as the councillor for the Post Office Advisory Committee. So that's all I know about that. But yes, I gave them two names, and one was Cromwell Street and Burton Green Road, and they decided on the Cromwell and called it Cromwell Lane because there was already a street in Coventry.
Oh, right.
So for postal services it was more convenient to call it Cromwell Lane. And so that's how Cromwell Lane, all its mile length long, is called.
That's very good. What do you think of this building now?
It's fantastic. An attempt has been made twice before at reconditioning it, but this gentleman has done it beautifully, beautifully.
Right, here we are. This is the new village hall, isn't it? This is the new village hall.
Yeah. Mm.
I can remember the old one, and there was some gravel just here, wasn't there? It's about a little gravel area and then the main hall was along there.
That way. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
A large wooden building.
Yeah, like an army building. It looked like, but actually, it was brick up to there, and it was all windows.
Really?
Actually,
Very light then.
Yeah, it was very pleasant to look at when you were inside as well. But yeah, the floor needed attention with the mice running around.
The new. What was your role in the building of the new one?
Well, obviously the old one was getting very in need of a lot of attention, as I explained before. The walls were bulging, the roof sank, and the floor was rotting away, and public health-wise as well. It was decided, we held a meeting on the Friday night, and there was such a lot of dissension. Well, the old village hall is all right. Yes, it was lovely for functions, but the building itself was falling apart. Oh, everyone was not in favour of raising money for a new village hall. And there was such
because it was a lot of money, wasn't it, to be raised?
Yeah, £10,000 in 3 years. And so what I did the next day, I wrote to the chairman and said I'd like to contribute £1,000, but I'd do it in £100 monthly accounts. And it was accepted, and I was asked to go on the committee, and we fundraised for 3 years and had a jolly good time doing it. And so now you see how the village hall started. Now it's been greatly improved.
Did you know much about the building of the power station?
Oh yes. Actually, it would appear that it got overdeveloped, and they wanted to put the pylons down behind the houses, and I went to a public inquiry with Mr. Wills, and we got them put underground. So it was more expensive for them to do that, but and it has to be serviced as well. But there's a pipeline underground.
Mr. Wills was the chairman of the Residents' Association, wasn't it, at that time?